Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Fazbear Entertainment would like you to put your hands together for the one, the only, Freddy Fazbear.
Rewritten! Content warning. This video is not made for kids. It contains fictional depictions of mental illness, fictional violence, and fictional abuse. The fictional characters in this story are heavily afflicted by the things that I have spelled out to you, and some of the inner monologue seems to suggest that they should be getting hurt like this, but that is absolutely not the case. Me portraying this abuse or mental illness is meant to show the audience how the illness or abuse feels inside of the mind of the afflicted person, so they can sympathize and maybe stop themselves from following a similar pattern in the future. Be careful if you are easily triggered. You're most likely about to enter the mind of someone who is heavily afflicted by illness and abuse. Viewer discretion is advised. Somehow, despite spending 9 hours in a death trap, going home was the last thing that Gregory wanted to do. The police officers told him to ride in an ambulance, but even though Gregory said that his mom warned him to never get in an ambulance because of how expensive they are, they put him in one anyway and sent him off. Gregory was definitely going to get in trouble for that. The hospital had been a little overwhelming. It was a maze of sterilized white holes, the sting of chemicals flooding his nose, fluorescent lights bathing everything with the colors of a yellowed old tooth. But the nurses were kind to him. They asked him all sorts of questions about how he was feeling, as if they actually cared about him. They cleaned up the hundreds of tiny cuts all over his body, having to put in stitches for the tooth marks in his head and the lacerations on his foot. He had to stand really still for an x-ray, even though he didn't think anything was broken. After that, they gave him a few shots for tetanus and any other infections that he could have gotten in his time in the Pizzaplex, then provided him with a few sandwiches, which he inhaled within seconds. Gregory hadn't realized how hungry and tired he had been until he was out of danger, and it took all of his willpower to stay awake while the adults continued to ask him if he knew his address and what his mom's last name was. He was feeling too sleepy to think of lying to them, but once he realized they were going to send him home, he wished that he had been more careful. A particular thing Vanessa had said kept swirling about in his head. His mother hadn't filed a missing persons report. At this point, Gregory was so exhausted he didn't have the strength to formulate a new plan. The hospital bed was the softest thing he had ever lied on before, and before he knew it, his eyelids grew heavier and heavier, his head sinking into the pillow, the haze of fatigue pressing down on him and making it impossible to stay upright. He didn't even remember when he fell asleep. All that he felt was that he was slowly drifting away from the rest of the world, like a boat with no anchor, the pinch of the stitches fading until they were nothing but a distant poking. For what felt like only a few minutes, the story of what happened tonight melted into his dreams, almost merging of them, seeming to fit perfectly with something that his imagination would cook up. A part of him even started to accept that it hadn't actually happened, finding it difficult to distinguish between nightmares and reality. Gregory hoped that he could wake up and discover that none of it had been real, that James was still here. But he awoke far too soon to a touch on his shoulder. Someone was shaking him, attempting to stir him. Gregory tried to ignore them, but their voice came soon, pulling him out of the dripping coils of sleep. "Hey, Gregory, your mom is here to pick you up. It's time to go home, honey." His eyes fluttered open, immediately met by a messy blur of white, gray, and brown. He squirmed around, gasping as throbbing pain surged through his body. Soreness tingled through every muscle and joint and layer of torn skin, showing him exactly how much his body had strained to keep him alive in the last 9 hours. Gregory rolled into a seated position, his head swaying back and forth in dizziness as he blinked down at his feet, vividly feeling each bandage and stitch. Memories of the Pizzaplex found him again, and the state that he was in confirmed what he had been praying to be undone. It had been real. It was all real. Are you feeling all right? Gregory looked up to the nurse in confusion. Why would she want to know that? Maybe it was a part of her job to be nice to even the brattiest children. Yeah, I guess. Gregory swallowed, surprised at how raspy his voice was. It's time to go home, the lady told him. Your mom is here. His stomach froze into ice, snapping him to alertness. But the nurse was already giving him a crutch, helping him stabilize as he got used to the odd lurching motion his limp forced him into. Freddie's last words to him rustled behind his mind as they left the recovery room and weaved through the bright, sanitized hallways. Tell an adult. Gregory didn't understand. Why would Freddie want him to tell an adult? Adults never do anything good. Freddie had shown him more kindness than any other grown-up in Gregory's life. Well, besides the nurses, but they were probably just pretending to be nice to him so they wouldn't get in trouble. With Freddie, it had to be real, because Freddie had been nice to him even though nobody else was there to watch. In all of those 9 hours, he hadn't yelled at him or hit him or gotten angry at him at all. Gregory wanted to go back to him, not tell the police that he makes his mom mad so that they could mess everything up and send him off to a creepy orphanage or something. The next time he looked up, the nurse was turning a silvery handle, a doorway opening up to reveal the cushioned seats of the waiting room. And there she was, his mother. Dark, piercing eyes met his, locking onto him like a shark. She had been in the middle of adjusting the claw clip that pulled back her frayed hair, her hands dropping back to her sides as she turned fully to face him. The nurse nudged at his shoulder, making him jump. He hadn't realized that he had stopped in his tracks. The commotion of the hospital faded to a faint buzz as Gregory was held there under her stare, finding it impossible to take a step. It had been so long since he had gotten away from her, but her face was still as cold as he remembered. But, of course, there were other people in the room, so she had to play along for now. His mother strode towards him, awkwardly placing a hand on his back to pull him further into the waiting room, mumbling a thank you to the nurse. The place where her palm met his shoulder blades was tingling and hot, making him want to wriggle away. He stayed put, though, noticing a detail that somewhat distracted him from the moment. There was a calendar in view behind the lady at the hospital desk, one that a separate co-worker was now marking off. It was now June 29th, which meant that Gregory had been in the Pizzaplex on the night of June 28th. It was very rare for Gregory to get a bearing of what part of the year that they were in, since there wasn't a calendar at his house. He didn't know the order of the months, but at least he was able to assign a number to that horrible night. His eyes dragged down to his feet, listening to the scribbling of pen on paper as his mother filled out some sort of form at the desk. He was still wearing the only remaining red and white sneaker, the sole of it almost completely peeled off after the events of last night. His other foot was wrapped in bandages that were knotted with stitches. It helped to lean on the crutch, but there were still tiny zaps of pain running between his toes every time that he tried to move them. You're going to have to come to a follow-up to get the stitches removed. Yes, of course, that'll be fine. When the adults were done, Gregory's mother led him away from the doctors, walking briskly enough that Gregory struggled to keep up. His armpit was already hurting from the crutch, his shoulders taking on the weight of his body to keep the pressure off of his bandaged foot. Why did everything hurt more now that he had slept? He had hardly felt this at all while he had been running for his life. How long would he have to walk like this? He wished that he had asked someone that, but it was too late now, and he didn't want to draw any more attention to himself than he had to. The warmth of the outside world soaked them as they left through the exit doors, the blaring new daylight and murmuring of strangers making him wince. As they circled the neatly trimmed bushes to hunt down where his mom had parked the car, he felt everyone's eyes on him. There wasn't a crowd waiting for him or anything, but the clusters of people moving in and out of the hospital gave double takes, their eyes flicking up to the bandages that pressed into his head. He pretended not to notice them, trying to keep his gaze down as he hobbled to match his mom's pace. The hinges of the car door squealed as he struggled to pull himself up. Tight, painful cords were running up and down his back, the soreness of the previous night forcing him to slow down. Just like it always did, the handle rattled loosely as Gregory tried to close the door behind him. After a good tug, it clicked into place, the car sputtering to life before he even had his seatbelt on. His mother reflexively switched the radio off before it could even begin to play. It had broken a long time ago, and the staticky whines that it made would only irritate them both even more. Gregory settled on lying the crutch in the empty seats next to him as the car weaseled its way out of its parking spot, the whole frame jerking up and down as they leveled out onto the main road. Gregory tried to catch his mother's eye in the rearview mirror, but found nothing. She was just stiff and quiet, which only made Gregory feel even more sick. He stared out the window the entire ride home, watching streetlights, other cars, and various grocery stores pass by, trying to distract himself from the uncomfortable silence. He was just too tired to deal with her, to even think of whatever was going on in her head. All that he wanted was to crawl back into his bed and sleep for a month. As they grew closer to his section of the neighborhood, the crisp uniform of the copy-and-paste homes began to slowly fall apart. An overgrown lawn here, a fallen tree branch there, a car covered in the powdery remains of pollen, dark streaks running down door frames and gutters, flaking paint, dark windows. When the shadow of his home crawled over him, he dropped his eyes shut, waiting as his mother pulled into the garage. The car gave a rattled sigh of relief when it was turned off, his mother already forcing her way out of the driver's seat. He gathered the crutch and struggled with the stupid broken handle again, eventually managing to leverage it open. The musty, wet air of the garage clung to him as he staggered out onto the gritty concrete, hearing the screech of the house's door as his mother left him behind. Gregory let out a shaky breath, taking note that the mound of trash bags had grown larger since he had last been here. A part of him wanted to go back into the car, but it had already been locked behind him. Flickering yellow light shone through the door to the house, which was still hanging open. The familiar stench of alcohol had already enveloped him, just like how he remembered it. He followed her inside. It was like he never left. She was still keeping most of the lights off, shrouding the far walls and corners in darkness. The stale air held this summer's heat like an incubator, immediately making sweat pool on the back of his neck. Bottles winked at him from the shadows, the overflowing trash can piled in the corner like a dragon's hoard. When Gregory saw the stairs, he began to shuffle over to them, nearly crouched on all fours as he tried to scurry away. Before he got up the first step, his mother's shout froze him in place. "Where do you think you're going?" Gregory kept his hand on the railing, breathing hard, his bad foot pulsing from the effort of moving so fast. "How the hell am I supposed to pay for all of this?" she demanded. "I told you not to go into a hospital. I told you how expensive they are." Gregory continued trying to scale the stairs, dragging the crutch behind him as he muttered under his breath. "I don't know, maybe stop buying so much beer." "What?" The edge of her tone immediately made him realize that he had messed up. In a burst of panic, Gregory tried to flee the rest of the way up the stairs, but the stitches bit into his injury, accidentally making him drop the crutch. The thumps of his mother's feet rushed up behind him, and before he knew it, she had grabbed his upper arm, dragging him back to the ground floor. "What did you just say to me?" Gregory was still leaning away from her, keeping his head down. "Nothing." "Look at me when I'm talking to you," she yanked him back. "What did you say?" "Nothing." Gregory gave in and looked up at her, terror clawing its way up his throat when he saw the shade of red that was blazing on her face. "Well, it didn't sound like nothing." Her grip on his arm tightened to the point that it hurt. "Where did this attitude come from? You will not speak to me that way in my house, do you understand?" "Yes, let me go." "No, I'm not done talking to you." Her dirty, untrimmed fingernails dug into his raw skin. "Why were you two even in the pizzeria in the first place? What happened to your brother?" He thought it would be safe in there," Gregory snapped back, unable to stop himself. "Vanessa killed him, and she almost killed me too." Well, maybe that wouldn't have happened if you didn't go in there. She pulled him closer, strands of her hair falling loose from the claw clip, dots of spittle peppering Gregory's face. If you weren't going to come back with him, too, you shouldn't have come back at all. At least then I wouldn't have to pay for all these f***ing hospital bills. She let go, and he collapsed onto the floor in a heap. Hot tears spilled down his cheeks with no warning, and he hurriedly covered his face, trying to stop them. No, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. He tried his best to stop it before she saw, but her towering presence above him only made it harder to control his breathing. She sighed in disgust, stalking away from him. You didn't go looking for us, Gregory said hoarsely. She stopped. He didn't dare to look up. If you wanted me to chase after you, then why did you run away? She scoffed. Gregory rubbed his wrists into his eyes, but the tears he wiped away were immediately replaced by even more. He wanted to defend himself and give a snappy retort. He wanted to take his newfound bravery and show her that she couldn't possibly be scarier than Vanessa. But he didn't want her to double back. So he just held his tongue, picking himself back up and taking the crutch with him up to his room. It wasn't worth getting hit again. June 23rd, 2087. I never knew kidnapping someone would be this difficult. I may have to burn this record later, but for now, I just need a place to write down what to improve on next time. That is, if I need a next time. I hopefully won't, but I have no idea how things are gonna go. The only thing that went right tonight was the victim. James was just perfect. I watched him waltz into the Pizzaplex like he owned the place, not a parent or guardian or even an older sibling in sight. But by the time I left the office to go meet him, Freddie had beaten me to it. He and the others were trying to unlock the entrance with the warm-up protocol and seemed to expect that I was going to help him leave too. But I didn't know when I would get another chance like this. I couldn't just let the opportunity slip from my grasp. The robots just wouldn't listen to me. I'm the one who designed the security protocol. I know more than anyone how good their sensors are at picking up on an adult's bad intent. I guess I have no one to blame but myself. I've designed a code so strong that even I am not an exception to its judgment. Still, you'd think that they would trust me to some degree, that they wouldn't ask so many stupid questions. I've lived with these people my entire damn life, and they still wouldn't. I decided to go get Monty. Besides Moon, Monty was the only one that had been given my chip. I was thinking that with the extra muscle I could put up a fight, or at least have the chance to use the prod on them. But when I told Monty to tackle Freddy, he just stared at me like I was crazy. I tried to reword the order, but no variation seemed effective. Then it hit me. The waterproof coding. I have redacted the memory of me putting the programming chip inside of Monty, which meant that he wasn't aware that he wasn't supposed to go in the water until the coding dries. That chip must have fried a long time ago. I'm going to have to take it back out, make a replacement, then put it back in and let him keep the memory of me telling him to not go in the water. Anyway, the robots just weren't listening to me because I guess nobody listens to me anymore. They just kept on talking and talking and talking the entire time, asking so many stupid little questions, poking their nose into something that's none of their business. Stupid machines can't even do their jobs right. I've known them for over 20 years, and yet they still can't just shut up and listen to me for once. I had to use the collars to knock them out. But even then, it had been a close call. The kid is currently being guarded by Bonnie in the storage room while I regain my bearings. I'll probably have to redact this entire night. So, my assessment. I don't know how long it'll take to perfect my chip. Moon's kind of backfired, and apparently Monty's wasn't even working in the first place, so I don't know if the updated version will even work. So, until then, I need a new plan. It seems that the animatronics security protocol works a little too well. If the kid wasn't in view, I may have had a better chance at taking him, but instead the animatronics were so focused on keeping the child safe, it made it almost impossible to manipulate them. I have no delusions about taking on all of them in a fight. Even with the suit, the animatronics would wallop me in less than 5 seconds if I went after a kid while their security protocol is active. The trick is to separate the animatronics from the child. The next time I do this, I could maybe catch the child and take them to Lost and Found, so I can go throughout the building and shut down each of the animatronics on my own. What I need to do is make a strategy where I distract them from their security protocol. If they're in security mode, I have no chance at getting the drop on them, but if I mess with their heads, it could disorient them enough to give me a fighting chance. Maybe once I separate them from the next kid, I'll be able to pick them off one by one without the risk of getting folded in half by a 600-pound metal bear. I think I know what I'm going to say to them. I won't exactly need an acting career to get under their skin. But none of that has happened yet. I don't know if this first kid will work out. If I need another, I'll get another, but for now, I just have to focus on the next stage of my experiment. My hands are shaking while I write this, knowing what I'm about to do to my first test subject. I'm not excited about it, but I know it has to be done. Kidnapping him was the easy part. Vanessa Miller. Whew, that was rough. Just to let you guys know, I literally feel evil after acting out the mom's lines, but it was important to set up the villain for Gregory's character arc. Anyway, okay, so since this is the first episode that I'm posting from Act 4, I'm going to be using it as a sort of roadmap to how the rest of Act 4 is going to be released. Some chapters may take longer than others, like, for example, Chapter 30 has 76 pages, while this chapter only has 6. So I've decided that I'm not going to be sticking to a schedule where it's once every 2 weeks. Instead, I'm just going to be releasing chapters whenever I'm done with them. This means that if I get done with a really small chapter in only 3 days, I'm going to post it. If a chapter takes 2 weeks, I'll wait until it's done before posting it too. So like, it's like a trade-off where you'll get rapid fire episodes until a really large, slower one comes along and then continue. Anyway, so I'm going to be posting chapter 29 after this, and it'll just be as soon as I'm done with it. So, Act 4 has 2 separate plots. It's Gregory's side of the story and then the animatronics side of the story. Gregory's epilogue is going to be like numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like you can see on the screen. But the chapters of the animatronics are still going to be continuing the previous order of lineup, where now it's 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. So, both of these POVs are meant to be consumed and stuff, so things won't make sense if you only do one or the other. So if you want to take, like, Act 4 as it is intended to be consumed, yes, it is imperative to come get Gregory's POV and also go to the animatronics POV. So, yep, I'll be posting Chapter 29 pretty soon. It's a lot longer than this introductory chapter to Gregory's epilogue, but it's going to be, like, well worth the wait. So, thank you guys for all watching and being so patient. A lot of time and effort goes into these episodes, and so far I'm still not monetized just because I don't have enough views. But hopefully that'll change soon once I start to, like, pump out some more episodes. So, yep, that's it. Bye, everyone. I love you guys. Look out for chapter 29.